and for reasons that I don't know if they're beyond the scope of the program or not, the longer we go out looking at the data, the more reason we have not to make house payments and to buy hiking gear.
And we've got real issues here in the very short term. Most people's focus, let's face it, have been whittled from a long-term vision down to a short-term via the past few generations of instant gratification through electronic media and so on. So let's just look at it, say, 6 months out. If we're talking about a situation for the last 3 months of this year, we might see a drop in purchasing power of the dollar of some significance. We might see the disruption of derivatives and problems with the financial system beyond what we have at this point. If those start manifesting in November, then we will be looking in the first 3 months of next year at an exacerbation level of that will impact deliveries to grocery stores, shipments into the country, the cost of food, the cost of delivering energy. Now, bear in mind, we're also getting clues from the minions of the powers that be, our Congress critters, that they are in fact going to do things that are going to cause energy to go up. The whole fallout from the Copenhagen Treaty, right? The cap and trade and all of this other bogus crud that they're going to put together, which is basically another market to shift money elsewhere. But its ultimate or its immediate impact will be on the cost of energy for everyone. But it'll also have hidden costs in the sense that not only will your cost to heat your house go up, but also the cost of your food will go up, and especially anything relative to high energy production on food. So, insofar as hyperinflation goes, you may find yourself where the asset you want to have during a hyperinflationary period of time, silver or gold, is actually racing against the other aspects, the other commodities that are also worth stuff, which is the cost of food. So here's a real problem. In Weimar Republic in mid-20s, they had a situation of hyperinflation. This led ultimately to the rise of the Socialist Party and Hitler and all of that kind of stuff. But during the period of time of the hyperinflation, there was actually an issue where food costs relative to the French franc were going down because they were going up on a daily basis, hourly basis even, in the German mark. But of course, a fixed asset soon became something you could dispose of easily. So if we got to that level of hyperinflation, which bear in mind was a death of a currency kind of an issue as a result of a transition from an aristocratic feudal structure under the Kaiser. Bear in mind, Kaiser is just German for king, and they had a monarchy which managed things very badly, and it transitioned over to a social democracy that led to Hitler. Now, when that transition occurred, the currency that was backed by confidence in the old realm, and remember again, all paper currencies are just simply backed by confidence in spite of any other claim, unless you can actually lay it on the counter and get gold for it, it's backed by confidence. When that confidence shifted in the Weimar Republic, they would have the gold and silver going up rapidly, but so was the cost of bread. And so it became very difficult. But if under those circumstances we had that same thing occur here, say you owed $100,000, well, we may reach a point where, yeah, it's just real simple to pay off the mortgage because it's a fixed debt in terms of its numeric value. And, might as well do that if you had that extra silver coin kind of a deal, as opposed to swap the silver coin for other items of relative value. But those things should stay at a relative level. In other words, I would still expect, let's see, what's the cost of silver now? Say that silver cost $18 for an ounce. Then then you should be able to use yours ratio here and apply a ratio between the number of loaves of bread you can get for silver now, and that should still hold true even during hyperinflationary times when the cost of silver is $600. You just have to spend, $200 for a loaf of bread or however many it works out. Make sense? Did I explain that right, George?
Oh, yeah, I think you did very well. The other thing you might want to consider is investing in trading stock. And when I say investing in trading stock, I've slowly been acquiring here and there a little whiskey. Actually, thinking about collecting even a few things like cartons of cigarettes, because those are things that historically have gone up. And yeah, smoking's a terrible thing, but there are people who are addicted to cigarettes and will pay dearly for them. And the same thing is true with any alcoholic beverage. Alcoholic beverages seem to me to be kind of in the category with ammunition. Buy it, lay it down, and if you ever need it, it's great trading stock, just like, a block of 22 shells is great trading stock.
Or, for that matter, chocolates and other things that make, that bring a special character, that kind of thing. Exactly, yeah.
However, there are some problems. Cliff and I have probably talked more about toilet paper storage than any other single thing on the planet, because, well, first of all, toilet paper is something that the Western world really likes. Secondly, the higher the quality, or the higher the softer the toilet paper, the worse it stores. Which is why when you're traveling in Central America, you get the stuff that kind of rolls off almost like typing paper. And when you get up into Minnesota, you get the stuff that falls to dust in your hands. It's so soft. So,
and you also have to be aware of other things. That brings up a real issue here, George. People have to understand that this is the plastics society, that almost no plastic that you're given at the consumer retail level is intended to have a lifespan of greater than 6 months. So if you go to the store and you buy bleach in those plastic containers, those bottles actually have a transpiration rate of about 6 months, and the bleach becomes less effective and has a nominal half-life. And so what George is actually talking about is the plastic around the large cases of the toilet paper is permeable, and moisture gets in there, and you have a potential for mold and other issues. So you have to be very savvy about storing stuff for longer-term use, and we're suggesting that that's a really good approach to spending any marginal, extra dollars you've got at the moment, is to buy stuff for this longer-term use and storage. So, but you got to be really careful about that. You wouldn't, for instance, want to buy nuts in plastic containers and expect those plastic containers to keep those nuts fresh for 6 months of shelf life. This is why the military goes to a great deal of trouble to come up with MREs and other, quote, shelf-stable items, and also why the whole freeze-dried food industry exists. But it's a very necessary thing, and now would be a real good time to buy it because, as I pointed out, in the Weimar Republic, those things that went up just as fast as the price of silver and gold and hard currency was basically food.
The other thing that you can buy right now is you can buy information on the cheap. Both Cliff and I have fairly extensive libraries. I don't know if you've ever looked at Lindsay Technical Books and some of the places that you can literally buy books, read the books through a couple of times, and pick up new skills like machining or carpentry,
coppersmithing, or any number of things.
Emergency medicine, those kind of things. And in fact, I personally think that the most valuable thing within 5 years may well be taking an EMT BLS, basic life support course. Not that I intend that you would become a paramedic or become an EMT of any kind, but the things that are out there, way out there in the data suggest that books will survive when the power goes down. The internet may not. And
bear in mind that what George is saying here too is there's a necessary corollary to the destruction of your currency. If you look at any country that goes through a currency destruction, in all of from about the mid-1800s on, and look at any energy source, that's one of the first things that gets disrupted. And our country is weirdly structured at the moment because some of our electrical energy sources are over 100 years old. They're fired on our grid system. They're fired on a disparate level of fuel sources, and that will be hit by hyperinflation, will cause probably, as far as we're concerned, third world kind of conditions relative to energy, where we might end up having areas of the United States that have Iraq-style juice, where, it's on today, quick, let's plug stuff in and use it for as long as it lasts, because it might be here only 3 hours this day.
Like I said before, we're all.
We really are, aren't we?
Yeah, but it kind of makes sense. It leads you to the thought, okay, I've got a freezer full of food out there that, I don't want to lose. It's all my berries and all the stuff I've frozen, and I want to make pies with it. So now I'm going to lose electricity. And we actually lose electricity up here all the time, and they're even threatening us with another windstorms tomorrow that'll take power out. When it goes here, it typically goes for about 11 or 12 days because we're so far out that it takes a while for the crews to come around. And we've actually had, a couple of years back, most people don't recall them, But we had, a flurry of monoxide poisonings up here because people didn't know how to use generators. If you're going to get a generator and you're going to try to supply your own power, it makes sense to do it in tests to figure out the lifespan of the generators. For instance, a lot of these people rush out in the power outages and they buy these little 5,000 watt or 5 kilowatt gas-powered generators. And they think, aha, I'm good to go. Well, if you start looking at them, you find out that those things have a typical lifespan of 400 operating hours if you change the oil every 5 operating hours, and if the magneto doesn't go out on you, and the magneto has an operating lifespan of 200 hours. So you're not buying much in the way of actual use. Plus, many people fail to understand that you need to have a gas-powered generator at least 80 feet away from any air intake, otherwise you're at risk of monoxide poisoning. And it just goes on and on and on.